Welcome to The Queen's Lair, a lifestyle podcast. Get inspired by our latest tips and information about small business, entrepreneurship, natural hair, travel, food, and even relationships. Stay tuned for another great episode. I am your host, Renee Patrice. Thank you so much for tuning into my podcast once again. I always appreciate everyone's support. This has been a crazy time. I think we're going into month 9 or 10 of the pandemic. I don't even know what it is anymore. And coming off of a few weeks after the elections, it has really been crazy. But thank you so much for continuing to follow me and support me in my business, and we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. We've got like a month left of 2020, so we want to make it as positive as possible. If you guys have been listening to past episodes, I promised that I would start answering questions, which I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but when you're running around and so busy, you don't really always think of the obvious things that are in front of you. But sometimes I'm kind of, hitting my head against the wall sometimes trying to figure out content to put on the podcast. And I'm like, why not just take people's questions, things that I get in DMs sometimes. And you guys know I'm not a big DM person. So best way to get me, honestly, is email, or if you know me and have my number, you can WhatsApp me. But I always get a lot of questions in email. I do get messages and WhatsApp and, just from different people and, asking questions and things like that. So I am going to be more diligent about looking at those emails and the questions that people have and create a podcast segment around it. So here's a recent, it was kind of a comment, but they wanted to know what to look for when working with brands. So these are people who you may be major influencer. This individual happens to be a micro influencer. Micro influencers, and I actually did a podcast about this, so go search for that podcast. Micro influencers and major influencers. But micro influencers tend to be bloggers. Sometimes they're bloggers, sometimes they're celebrities, but they may be on a smaller scale. So they may not have 1 million followers, but they may have 20,000 followers or even 10,000 followers, but they're very engaged with their audience, and their audience really does follow their suggestions for different things. So as an influencer in general, but especially for the micro influencers that may not have representation. And when I say representation, I mean a brand manager like me, some sort of, brand management, PR, something. If you don't have that and you're a smaller person, you're just kind of making your own deals, I want to go over this with you because this question was posed to me. And I just think that it would benefit a lot of people. So these are things to look out for when working with brands. Now, this is more of a red flag situation. So these are kind of like your best practices. If that brand is coming to you and they do not want to provide you with a written contract, okay? If they don't want to mutually sign a contract with you, between you and them, and the contract should list the scope of work that it is that you need to do, all of that. If anything goes left, you have a very little foot to stand on. If anything should have to go to court, God forbid, you would have to deal with going to court. But if anything really started to go left, you would not have any type of paper trail or anything, when dealing with these brands. And I know that people say, well, we went back and forth in email. Yes, I go back and forth with email all the time with brands. All the time. But when it comes down to it, if they want me to do something or a client of mine to do something, there needs to be a solid contract. If there is no contract, we are not going to provide them with any type of deliverables whatsoever. And deliverables could be posts that you're supposed to put on your social media feed, stories, something for your stories, reels, whatever it is. No content is going to be furnished unless there is a signed contract. So beware of brands who don't want to sign a contract. Okay. Now, when you are negotiating your payments, I will probably do something with pricing specifically in this space, but I got to tread lightly with that because pricing can be from one extreme to the next. But when you are dealing with pricing, when it comes to brands, like what do you charge, to do a post and things like that, I may have to do a masterclass on that. That might be masterclass material. But if you do your homework, and like I said, Google is your friend. If you do your homework on that, you can find a great medium for the amount, because it really depends on the engagement that you have. Because a lot of times what brands are looking for, they're not just looking for 50 million followers or 20,000 followers, because there are plenty of people, keep it real. There's like people out there who have like 20,000 followers and half of them are fake. Okay? So let's just be for real. A lot of celebrity accounts, public figures, they pad. It's not that they don't have a good following. Yes, they have a great following. But a lot of times they pad it with the millions. So they may have 2 million followers, but they pad it with another 8 million, on there so it can make it look like they have 10. So it really, you have to look at ratios of things and, engagement on things, I've seen people have 30, 40,000 followers and have 1, maybe 2 comments. That is a telltale sign right there that they don't have any engagement. And I would definitely question the followers. I would. So brands are often looking for engagement. They want to know that the people that follow you really follow you. Like they engage with you. Are you talking in your comments? Are you responding? That kind of thing. So these are some of the things that they like to measure more than just a number, because you could have somebody with 50,000 followers who doesn't really have a lot of engagement and their fans are kind of, their followers are kind of disconnected. Or you could have somebody with 1,000 followers who talks to their followers all the time and they're very engaged. So it's not just the end all be all of the number of followers. A lot of it is engagement. A lot of it is who's reposting, retweeting, that sort of thing. Okay, so when you are charging for your services as an influencer, make sure that you are looking at the number of followers you have. Make sure that your engagement is up. People often ask, well, how do I get my engagement up? You can ask questions. I sometimes post things every so often asking questions. I post something over the Thanksgiving holiday, which pie has to go. And it was an apple pie, sweet potato pie, pumpkin pie, and pecan pie. And it just had a whole bunch of comments underneath. You can go on my Instagram and see it. And all of the conversation that went back and forth between my followers and myself of which pie it has to go, So something as simple as that got people talking and involved and engaging with your content. So keep that in mind when you're doing your pricing. If your engagement is low, your pricing is probably not going to be, they're not going to accept certain pricing at top tier levels if your engagement is low. They want to see engagement. That's one of the main things. Okay. So don't let them undercharge you. Don't let them underpay you. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Don't let them underpay you either. So do your research and your homework on engagement, like the percentage of engagement of your followers between you and your followers, or your account and your followers, and also the number of followers that you have. All of that, you can find some tools online if you do your homework. go Google, and you can find some tools online, and you can find a happy medium of what to charge. Don't let them shame you in what you are charging. If you say you're charging $250 a post, and they can come over to your page and see that, yes, you definitely have a following and people are engaged, don't let them tell you, oh, this person only charges XYZ, $125 a post. Well, I charge $250. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever your number is. Let them know that, and stick to it. Don't keep lowering your price because they feel like, they want to haggle. Your price is your price. Okay? All right. Another thing is influencers. Not only do you have to have your price together, it's also called a price sheet, or your whatever your rate is. Some people call it a rate card. You may hear that too in the industry, is rate card. Rate card is just your rates, preferably a one-pager of your rates for whatever work that it is you're doing. What do you charge to create videos? What do you charge to create flyers for the particular brands, or whatever the case may be. Whatever it is that you're doing, product placement, things of that nature. If you are a person who does YouTube videos and there's, and you can do product placement, there's a lot of YouTubers when you watch them and they'll talk about, a particular water company, or they'll talk about, a particular food item or something like that. Product placement is another big way to work with brands as well. Typically speaking, all of the branding partnerships personally that I have done, either for myself or for my clients, are usually net 30. That means if we do work today, okay, and you will get paid within 30 days from when the work has been completed. So if I have handed everything into them, today is November 30th. I've handed everything into them. They approved and said, yes, we love it. From then on, it is another up to 30 days. You should get paid sooner than that, but up to 30 days is pretty typical for a brand to remit payment. And for the most part, most brand companies that I work with, will send you back a check. I know some now are, doing everything online, and they may come back, to your PayPal, your business PayPal, or however they do it. But I would say 80% of the time it's a check. So they will come back with a check in your business name or your name, or however it goes. Okay. There are some brands who will do a little bit faster. I've had some brands do 15-day turnaround, so basically like within 2 weeks. But even the ones that have been, they say it's net 30, but most of the time that check was back within 15 to 20 days, somewhere there. So I would get the check back like by December 15th, December 20th, if I was to do, hand something in today. Okay, so keep in mind, when you are dealing with brands, if they come back to you and they say, it's going to be 60 days, I've even seen some brands say 90 days. Just think about it. If you have bills to pay, you got rent due, you got all the stuff that you have to get done for your business. If there is a brand that is not able to pay you until 60 days or even like 90 days, something to that extreme, I would not even deal with them, because 90 days is a long time for the business to fail and close up shop and you never get a check. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, they have already gotten the benefit of you promoting their brand for them. So I would not even touch a brand that is even going that far. They would have to explain to me in some sort of detail why it is taking that long. And if it's taking that long, to be honest, that means their accounting is, I don't say their accounting is shifty, but their accounting is extremely slow. And that is not, it's not typical at all. 30 days is very well typical. And even if you say that you work on 15 days, normally what they would do is kind of have a happy medium, because they usually tell you 30 most of the time. honestly, I would get the check well before that, a good 10 days before that, even 15 days before the 30. But if you say 15, they'll try to adhere to that as quickly as possible. So if they say 30 and you say 15, you're probably looking at a check somewhere between the 15th and the 20th of the month. And this is if you hand stuff into them like on the first of the month is what I'm going by. Okay. So never go for these extreme, waiting for, and I'm telling you, I don't care how big the brand is. 90 days is extreme. 60 days is not the norm. Just know that it is not the norm. Okay. So these are some of the things to look out for. Again, please make sure that you sign a contract. I don't care how simple the contract is. I don't care if you're bartering. I don't know that many people out there bartering anymore like that. Well, in my circle, people charge what they charge. Even if you are doing something for free, meaning if it is charity or whatever the case may be, put it in writing. The time that you're supposed to arrive, the time that you're supposed to make your speech, your presentation, whatever it is, if you're donating food or you're baking a cake or whatever it is that you are doing, get it in writing. I cannot stress that enough. Get it in writing. Any type of contract, especially when it comes to you representing for a brand. Get it in writing. They should have something detailed to explain to you exactly the deliverables and everything that is expected of you, even if it's an exchange for, I just had chefs do unboxings where they're sending products for them to unbox and create a recipe with. Whatever it is, make sure that there is a contract. And even if your client doesn't directly sign the contract, if you are their rep, if you do like what I do, make sure that your rep, I'm talking to the clients now, make sure that your rep has signed a contract with them or has all that paperwork so that so there is no type of, last minute surprises and things like that, because that is the worst. When there's no contract and everybody was just talking, over emails and, that kind of thing. We want to make sure that everybody is covered all the time. Your pricing, make sure that you stand firm on your pricing. Now, if you have little to no engagement on your page and, even if you have 20,000 followers and you can't justify that pricing, don't be going around quoting $5,000. You cannot do that. Again, Google is your friend. Do your homework. Find out a good medium. And like I said, I may do a masterclass or something like that on pricing for things like that. But make sure that they don't try to lowball you. Stand firm on your pricing. Okay? And then, yes, the final thing, like I said before, your terms and conditions for payments. You would never wait 90 days to get a paycheck from your 9-to-5 job. So why would you wait 90 days to get paid from a company that you hoping and wishing is going to pay you? So be weary of any, payment terms that are so to the left that you're just like, wait a minute, 60 days, like I said, 60 days. I have heard of 60 days, but it is not the norm. It is not, I repeat, it is not the norm. 90 days, run. And don't even go anywhere past that. But 90 days, run. I wouldn't even entertain 90 days whatsoever. And if they are doing 60 days, I would need a rundown of why that process takes that long. Because that pretty much means that their accounting department, who's cutting the check payments, there's some type of snafu going on there. So 30 days is the thing. I would get them to agree to the 30 days, even if they're trying to go outside the 30 days or whatever the case may be. Of course, now during COVID, it's maybe, you got to give people a little bit more time. Mail is, moving a little bit slower and all of that. But 30 days is really more than enough, especially when you're running a business and you're turning around payments for things. There's no reason why any professional corporate business can't turn around payments within 30 days, less than 30 days. They really should be able to do it in one pay period, which technically is 14 days, but 30 days or less. Okay. If you have any other questions that you would like me to answer, to do, a quick podcast about, let me know. I am happy to answer those questions. I actually have quite a few more, so I'm definitely going to do some more of these, but send your questions to info@onyxqueenmedia.com, and you can find me on the web at Onyx Queen Media. And I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.